Hello and welcome to Sports Update. Today we'll be looking at the latest sports news from around the region and beyond.
We will also be looking at the latest happening in college basketball and check out some of the big events in pro sports. I'm Wyatt Long.
And I'm Maiden Richardson. This is Sports Update on EU TV.
Thanks for joining us on Sports Update. Today we have the latest on Evangel Sports, and later, special guest Coach Capel from the Evangel men's basketball team will be here to talk about their season. But first, let's talk about Evangel men's baseball.
The Evangel baseball team had a rough couple of outings when they took on Columbia Cougars in a doubleheader this past weekend. The first game saw the Valor never really get on track as they allowed Columbia to absolutely dominate the contest. The Cougars hitter Bryce Taylor clinched the game with a couple of huge home runs. This brought the first contest to an end with a final score of 5-1. The Valor had hopes of rallying in the second contest. The Valor started off strong as they claimed the first 4 innings thanks to some solid pitching by Wyatt Kepler. However, the Cougars came out strong in the 5th and went on to dominate the rest of the game. The Cougars won the contest with a final score of 8-4. These tough losses bring Evangel to a season record of 8-7.
The Evangel Valor softball team had some varying success this past week when they competed in the Drury Softball Classic. The team was facing some stiff Division II competition throughout the day, and in their first bout, the Valor were able to knock off Nebraska Kearney with a 6-5 win. The Valor were able to capitalize on some of Nebraska Kearney's mistakes to take the lead in the 6th inning, and some great pitching performances by Micaiah Cordell and Abby Jo Emmett sealed the deal for the Valor. The team's second game would prove to be less successful when the Valor fell to Northeastern Oklahoma State 4-1. The Valor would fall behind with Northeastern scoring 4 runs in the opening inning, but a valiant defensive effort would keep Northeastern at bay for the rest of the game. However, in the end, the lead would prove to be too much for the Valor to overcome. The Evangel Valor track and field team sent 3 different athletes to the National NAIA Track and Field Indoor Championships this past week. Delaney Weimer, William Boyven, and Jacob Gillies all proved to be stiff competition for the meet. Some standout performances from the trio include Delaney Weimer, who continued her impressive freshman campaign when she placed 23rd overall in the 60-meter dash with a time of 7.74. Also worth noting is William Boyven, who finished 26th in the 60-meter hurdles with a time of 8.41. These performances mark an end to the indoor portion of the team's season, and next on the agenda for the team is at first a few weeks off, with the Valor beginning their outdoor tournaments when they head to Central Methodist for their meet in Fayette, Missouri on March 19th.
The Evangel men's tennis team had a tightly contested match against the University of the Ozarks this past Saturday. Some of the standout players for Evangel were Sidney Dollar, James McWraith, and Darryl Wong. Thanks to these performances, the Valor won 4 matchups for the day and claimed the overall victory. The Evangel men's team is proving to be a force to be reckoned with. On the other side of things, the Evangel women's tennis team had a tough contest as well, as they also took on the University of the Ozarks. Despite a standout performance from Abigail Cheney, the Valor fell in the overall victory.
The men's basketball team continued their magical season as they enter the NAIA National Tournament as the number 8 seed. The team will be dispatching to New Orleans, Louisiana as they get set to take on Florida College at Tulane University on March 11th. This will be Evangel's first appearance in the tournament since 2015. Evangel earned their spot after finishing 2nd place in the Hart Conference, only behind the highly ranked William Penn. First-year head coach Bert Capel looks to lead his team to a successful run in the tournament. Well, Aiden, it's good to see the basketball team officially in the NAIA National Tournament. Good to see some great stuff from Evangel Sports. We have national athletes, a lot of good stuff happening in Evangel.
I agree. You know, we kind of thought that the Valor's basketball season was over after their tough loss in their division. But thanks to just an outstanding season with a great record, they're able to move on to nationals. It's truly exciting.
And you talk about a team with tough losses. We've seen that a lot with softball and baseball both, who seem to be trading back and forth on wins and losses. But it's worth noting that even with those losses, there's still some great performances coming out of these players.
I agree. You know, obviously it's a team sport, so you want to win, but when you still see standout performances, it's still motivating. You know, it's still good to see that.
And standout performances, how can we not talk about the indoor track championships when we have 3 different athletes going to the national tournament and 2 doing very well, awesome stuff from Evangel athletes?
I agree. You know, we've sang the praises of the track team since the beginning because they've been outstanding this year and they just keep moving forward.
Absolutely.
You know, the tennis team as well, they've had a really interesting season because on the men's side of things, they're pretty dominant. But on the women's side of things, it seems like they're not quite able to just secure the big win. So what do you think about that?
Well, I think that as we see this team evolve and the team grow, and even these teams playing together under the same coach, that women's team has the potential to catch up. There's a lot of good talent there. So I wouldn't throw in the towel just yet, especially with Evangel Sports. I mean, no matter what it is, this school finds athletes that will fight to the end, and we will see that with women's tennis.
I agree. Well, coming up, we'll be checking out some of the big NBA and college basketball games that were played this past weekend.
And in just a few, I will be here with men's basketball coach Bert Capel, who will talk with us about their season. Stay with us.
What a disaster.
You're a disaster.
This is a disaster.
You can't be ready for every little disaster, but you can prepare for a big one. Make an emergency plan today.
You're not going to get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff. Like making sure your kids are in the right seats for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
My kids put skis on as they were learning to walk. I want my kids to be able to have those moments with their kids. Being a scientist, I'm worried about climate change in so many different ways for my kids. From the second you have a child, you want to do everything to protect them. I think our action on climate change is no different. It's just an extension of being a mom.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. Let 211 be your guiding light for mental health and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org.
Welcome back to Sports Update. Here with us today is Coach Bert Capel to talk with us about the end of the season for men's basketball. Coach, thank you so much for being here today. So as you take a look back, what are your general thoughts about that regular season?
You know, I didn't know what the expectations were really coming in. I think as a coach, you always hope you have a great season. But with me being new and the guys having to adjust to someone who had not been here for 40 years, you know, you never know what's going to happen. But you know, looking back, I feel like that everybody had just bought in from the beginning. Everybody was willing to do what they were asked. Everybody played hard. They competed. They practiced hard. And I just think we probably saw the fruits of you know, their work ethic as the season went along. And as we started winning, I think they started becoming more confident and started buying in even more and getting more excited. And I think all that just kind of, you know, came together to get what we got at the end.
So you mentioned you're new to Evangel. What have been some of the more difficult parts of that transition coming in between you and the team? Yeah,
so, you know, I went to school here and I was actually kind of helping out for the last couple of years. So as far as the team and the school itself, you know, wasn't too much of an adjustment because I'm very familiar with Evangel. But like you said, the biggest change with that is probably just filling the shoes of someone who was a Hall of Famer, you know, who was here for 40 years, somebody that the players knew, the community knew, the coworkers and people at Evangel knew. And it was just that difference of change, you know, just different personality maybe, you know, maybe some philosophies that are just a little different. So, you know, it was an adjustment for me, but it was probably also an adjustment for the people around me, just not seeing Coach Jenkins every day in that office. So,
when you look back over the regular season, What are some of the challenges that you guys had to face? What are some of the biggest things that kind of stood out to you?
Well, I think the biggest thing was just, like we mentioned before, just the adjustment that we all had to make because everybody was kind of new in this process. But it was also just figuring out like who we were. You know, I was different, the roles on the team were different. We had people that had left, we had new guys come in, you know, just trying to figure out what the dynamic is. Because you can have a bunch of good players, but if they don't play well and everybody wants to shoot the ball and everybody wants to do this or do that, then yeah, it can sometimes not work out the way you want. I thought the challenge the whole year was just figuring that out. And like I said, I thought we figured it out early. We started winning, and so sometimes when you're winning and things are going good, it's hard to complain about stuff. You know, I want to shoot the ball, I want to score more, I think I should be playing more, and sometimes those things just go away because the things we had were working, and then everybody just kept buying in. So, you know, those challenges were there early, but you know, fortunate enough, we were able to figure those out.
You had some great success this past season. As you kind of take a look back, are there any big highlights or any specific games or moments that kind of stand out to you?
Man, you know, there are probably a few. One of them would be probably early against Drury. You know, that was a game that I had always wanted to play as a player because they were right down the street and we never got a chance to do it. So just a chance to, you know, play an in-town rival I thought was pretty cool. A couple of games down the stretch, probably here against Central Methodist, probably at Benedictine. Those were games that if we wanted to compete and make the national tournament, we had to win. And we found a way to win, even though I didn't think we played very good at Benedictine. But probably those games, probably the William Penn game was a good game. I mean, it was very disappointing that we had a chance to win it and we didn't. But I felt like that gave us confidence, feeling like they were a good team. Yeah, we did win. Probably should have won had we made some free throws. But you just feel like that if they're supposed to be the best team in the country, then any of these teams that we play, and if we make the national tournament, you know, at the time, that we feel like we could probably compete with anybody. And so that was probably a confidence booster too. So.
Now, we saw some fantastic improvement over from the start of the season toward the end. What are some things that you think you could improve on even more, that you're looking to improve on both in the tournament and then going into the next season?
You know, I think it's always, I thought we started playing offensively better. Our offense was better. We started making some shots. Sometimes when that happens defensively, you tend to not be as good as what you could be because you feel like, well, if they score, don't worry about it. We'll score on the other end. I feel like defensively, we've got to keep getting better. In the national tournament, there are some really good teams. And, you know, we have a good team. We've got some good players, but sometimes you face some teams that are a lot taller and faster and more athletic, and we're just going to have to find a way to make those adjustments. You know, maybe some things that we could do before, we won't be able to do. But I think the biggest thing for us if we want to be successful is to guard on the defensive end and then just play tough. You know, we're not going to be able to compete with some of these guys athletically, but I feel like we got some toughness to us that if we just continue to do that and guard people, we'll give ourselves a chance.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Coach, thank you very much for being here on Sports Update
appreciate
today.
It. Thank you.
Coming up, we will look at some of the most impactful games from the weekend. Stay tuned.
Adventure can be found anywhere, but the best place to start is in the forest.
I spy something beginning with S.
Snow?
No.
Snow-covered trees.
Nothing to do with snow.
Head outside to discover incredible animals and beautiful plants that come together to create an unforgettable adventure.
Wow.
So grab your loved ones.
Don't even.
And explore a world of possibilities.
Come on, this way.
Visit discovertheforest.org to find the closest forest or park to you.
We'd do anything for kids. Yet 1 in 6 children in the U.S. struggle with hunger. Help end childhood hunger near you. Learn how at feedingamerica.org.
The Kentucky Wildcats women's basketball team had a historic victory when they won the SEC women's basketball crown for the first time since 1982. After a rough couple of months in the preseason, it looked as if Wildcats fans were going to be disappointed. However, the Wildcats turned their luck around as they started winning games at a rapid rate. The Wildcats went on a 10-game winning streak that culminated with a 64-62 upset of the then #1 ranked team, South Carolina. With this historic upset, the Wildcats have taken home the championship for the first time in 40 years. This win is a reminder to sports fans everywhere that a game is never over till it's over.
In the world of the NBA, the Boston Celtics matched up against the stacked Brooklyn Nets this past week, and it proved to be an incredible contest. The game proved to be a battle of two players, those being the Nets' Kevin Durant and the Celtics' Jason Tatum. Durant would put up 37 points in his attempt to steal the game away, but Tatum's response was extraordinary. Tatum fired back with a 54-point game of his own as he put his team in the win column with the final score of 126-120. The offensive showdown would prove to be a thrilling contest all around, and Tatum was quoted as saying, "When those opportunities come, you try to make the most of it." Well, this ended up being the case whenever Tatum put together one of the best games of his career.
The New Orleans Pelicans and the Denver Nuggets had a great contest this past weekend. The best way to describe this contest is back and forth, and neither team could seemingly gain the momentum. Standout players for the game were New Orleans small forward Brandon Ingram, who ended the contest with 38 points, and Denver's Nikola Jokic, who ended 46 points of his own. After a tight game, the Nuggets would edge out a victory with a final score of 138-130. This contest showcased two of the best teams in the league, and is a reminder of just how unpredictable the NBA will be this year.
Boy, what a huge week for basketball, Wyatt. We have the Wildcats winning the SEC championship for the first time in 40 years. That's huge.
Absolutely, and some incredible stuff from the NBA as well. I mean, when you look at those performances, basketball is such a player-driven sport these days. Obviously, there's teamwork and effort, but when you have those individual performances standing out, like Jokic, like Ingram, like Durant, like Tatum, it really makes the game exciting.
To draw out a name you said there, Jason Tatum. That's not a name you hear as far as the biggest superstars in the NBA, because he hasn't really had the opportunity to prove that. But he proved that when he's given the opportunity, when he's given the spotlight, he can run with it. And we saw an outstanding performance from him.
Not only run with it, but run with it against guys like Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. I mean, two of the top names that have been in this league for years. And another name that doesn't get enough credit is Ingram. I mean, that guy's been playing some incredible basketball his career, but he hasn't really broken into that top echelon of like the top players. But with more performances like these, he can do that.
I agree. The NBA has become so diverse. You know, you have people coming out of their freshman year of college straight into the NBA. So the talent is just unbelievable. And it's hard to stand out, but I think when you see performances like what we saw in the Celtics game and the Nuggets game, you see standout players, and thus we create superstars.
Absolutely, 100%. The NFL Combine is back and in full swing as the top college football prospects from around the country gather in Indianapolis to prove and test themselves in front of NFL scouts and coaches. The stars came out quick when Baylor defensive back Callan Barnes ran the second fastest 40-yard dash ever recorded at the Combine. Barnes had a time of 4.23 seconds, only 0.01 seconds behind John Ross, who broke the record in 2017. This Combine is looking full of potential with NFL talent, with offensive line prospect Dar Rosenthal and defensive line prospect Amari Barno also making big splashes during their drills. This will mark a wrap on the 2022 NFL Combine with lots of fresh talent to look forward to in the NFL's future. Boy, the future is looking bright for the NFL with all of these prospects coming through the Combine. And the Combine is one of those things where it might not always showcase everything that coaches want to see, but it certainly can catch the eye of some people. I mean, I look at a guy years back, Dontari Poe. He wasn't a huge prospect coming straight out of college, but at the Combine, he had a chance to shine because all eyes were on him. He was one of the fastest defensive linemen, had some amazing drills, and all of these college prospects can truly get their shot at this Combine.
I agree. You know, when a coach is out there scouting, he's watching an entire field of players. But in the NFL Combine, you get that one shot to prove yourself just by yourself. And the numbers that we saw were insane. I mean, a record that had stood for 30 years was broken in 2017, and it was almost broken again. So these guys are more athletic than ever. They're hungrier than ever. And the talent that we are seeing in the NFL, the NBA, just world of professional sports in general is just unreal right now.
Right, and all of this talent coming in, this is just the beginning of the offseason, and there's a lot more to come with the offseason. A lot of teams are going to have to work with their cap. I mean, you look at the Los Angeles Rams, they paid out the wazoo for all of these guys to make their Super Bowl run, and they got it. But now what do they start doing? Where's Aaron Rodgers going? I mean, there's been reports that money's coming to him to stay in Green Bay. There's been reports he's going to Denver. There's a lot of interesting stuff that could happen with the NFL this offseason.
I agree. You know, if you're Aaron Rodgers, the ball is in your court because you're one of the greatest players of all time. You have these great quarterbacks. You have Tom Brady retiring. So as far as the true superstars, the NFL, Aaron Rodgers is probably the top one right now.
Right.
And so he controls that narrative as far as where he's going to go, or even if he continues to play. So there's just a lot of exciting things coming up in the NFL this year.
Absolutely.
Well, coming up, we'll be looking at the Player of the Week and upcoming games that you don't want to miss. Stay tuned.
Did you know dragging chains can spark a wildfire?
Only you can prevent wildfires.
There is a road laid out for me.
First night here, but Amy seems cool.
Leading down to the river. I am blind, but I need not see.
What do you think?
I know this road is there for me. If I'm really free, take me down to the river and walk.
Severe weather can strike anytime, anywhere, but there's a simple way to stay safe. Hey, Jim Cantori here. I stay safe in dangerous weather by planning ahead. You can stay safe too with a few easy steps. Build an inexpensive kit with supplies for your family's needs. Write down important information like phone numbers and medications. Always talk with your family and remember any pets in your planning. Be ready, be safe. Start your plan today at ready.gov/plan.
It's now time to announce the Sports Update Evangel Player of the Week. This week, we highlight freshman Jacob Gross.
We are highlighting Jacob Gross for his incredible performance this past weekend during the University of the Ozarks matchup. Gross defeated his opponent in single matchup with a two-time score of 6-0, helping the Valor to close a win overall 4-3. Congratulations to Jacob. Well, some great stuff from Jacob, not only being able to win, but to win in that fashion, 6-0, twice in a row, absolutely dominant. And then on top of that, that puts the Valor ahead 4-3, and they end up winning the matchup. Incredible stuff from Jacob.
I agree. You know, the Valor didn't have the strongest week as far as men's tennis, but with a performance like that, it helped put them over the edge, even when some of his other teammates weren't performing as well.
Right. It's good to see some success come from a player of the week like this. Some amazing stuff from Jacob. Good to see a tennis representative in there.
Exactly.
Amazing stuff from this kid.
Well, at this time, let's take a look at the upcoming games this week in Valor Sports. Men and women's golf play Tuesday, March 8th at the Evangel Spring Invitational and Monday, March 14th at Ron Streck Invitational.
Baseball plays on Friday, March 11th versus William Penn at home. That game is at 12 p.m. And on Sunday, March 13th, again versus William Penn at home, again at 12 p.m.
The softball team plays Tuesday, March 8th versus Ecclesia at home, Friday, March 11th versus Benedictine at Atchison, Kansas, and Saturday, March 12th versus Missouri Valley at Marshall, Missouri.
Men's tennis plays on Saturday, March 12th. That game starts at 11 a.m. and it is versus Sterling at the Cooper Tennis Complex.
Women's tennis plays Saturday, March 12th versus Sterling at the Cooper Tennis Complex.
Men's basketball plays on Friday, March 11th at 3 p.m. versus Florida College at New Orleans, and this is their first game in the NAIA National Tournament. And their second game is on Saturday, March 12th at 7:30 p.m., and it's versus the winner of Loyola or Benedictine Mesa, again at New Orleans.
Let's go, Evangel Valor.
Now, it is worth noting that men's basketball game, the second game versus Loyola or Benedictine Mesa, is only if they win their first contest against Florida College. But other than that, a lot of good upcoming stuff for Evangel.
I agree. You know, we're seeing golf, we're seeing baseball and softball kind of take the spotlight. So it's interesting to see the spring sports roll in. And so we're going to start seeing some new stories pop up here on the Sports Update.
Absolutely. And some new athletes, some new player of the weeks, a lot of new stuff coming in this spring season. Can't wait.
I agree.
Well, for more information on those upcoming games, final scores, and more, visit evangelathletics.com.
And that is all the time we have for today on Sports Update. I'm Wyatt Long.
And I'm Aiden Richardson. Be sure to join us next week as we bring you the latest in sports news. This has been Sports Update on EU TV.